Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so this is basically this video is gonna be about cultural appropriation of other cultures, right? So now I know a lot of y'all know that I go pretty hard on this indigenous, aboriginal, black, native community. But today I want to touch on something just a little different. But it also ties in with that community. So, for a long time, people have, gravitated towards Kemetic or Nile Valley spiritual system. Now, I don't want to really piss people off. I'm just going to come with the facts with this when I say African Americans are not Egyptians and vice versa. America is not Egypt. If you know anything about geography, you will know it's total nonsense. Now, I know since that I've been seeing the so-called Abo community take a rise or whatever, they'll say, that America was Egypt, and they'll say things like slavery happened in reverse in America, that they didn't bring slaves over here on the transatlantic slave trade. They'll say things like, where are the ships? Like, they never question the European ships, though, how they got here, the pilgrims and all that. They don't never question that. Where are the slave ships? Well, where are the Viking ships? Then they'll say things like, then you have the people that's, I don't really know what to call them other than we was here people, we was everywhere people. You have those that say that, blacks were here. They don't really say that they're the true Native Americans, but they do feel like that black people were everywhere first. Now, I'm going to touch on some of those topics later on, because today I want to focus on the cultural appropriation of ancient Egypt. Now, a lot of people call them hoteps. Well, for the lack of a better word, I used to be a hotep. You know what I'm saying? I studied Kemetic culture for many years, but I studied African culture, period. I studied a lot of ancient cultures, but mainly my focus is Africa. So, with that being said, wearing the ankhs is cool, studying the meta nature, all that's cool, studying and everything, but the truth is, Nubians did not enter lower or upper Egypt until the 4th or 5th dynasty. Now, if we want to go to books, there's one main book. Even though it's a little outdated, it's still a good book. This book right here, The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. Now, this is a very good book. I've read it a couple times, actually. But in that book, even Chancellor Williams says that when the Nubians came to Egypt, there was already occupants of Egypt, possibly Arabs. Now, I know everybody wants to say, we built the pyramids, blah, 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 blah. But the truth is, when the Nubians came to Egypt, the pyramids were already built. So, if there were already occupants of Egypt when the Nubians basically conquered Egypt, that means Nubians didn't build them. And the Nubians came up out of Central Africa, like possibly Sudan or Lower Sudan, maybe. But then you have to remember too, during this time, Egypt controlled Sudan, Ethiopia, and Libya. Libya, maybe you think it was like all that region. Now, when you think of East Africa, it's mainly, Somalia too. So when you think about Somalians and Ethiopians, it's specifically, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about something else. I don't care though. I'm not even gonna edit it out. I don't care. I'm keeping it real. So specifically, when you think about these two race of people, Ethiopians and Somalians, they look like dark Arabic. You know what I'm saying? That's because of the Arabic influence among the peninsula right there. Like they had easy access. Well, actually, you could say that Arabia is part of Africa because it's connected. It's a peninsula. It connects it right there. So, these people basically fell under the slave ownership of Arabs because they were right there. As we all know, Arabs were like the first to enslave Africans, and they pushed Islam on them. That's why you have such a heavy influence of Islam. Like most of that whole area right there is Islam, and it also stretches into West Africa too. But most of that whole East Africa, that whole section, that whole side, that geographical area right there is mostly Muslim. And you got some Jews, you got that influence too because of Israel not being too far away. Well, all right, so let's get into this. So why do I say that when people are basically saying, they study comedics or whatever, why do I say they're culturally being inappropriate is because that's not ours. As we all know, most slaves came from West Africa. Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, all those areas like that. And the spiritual system in that area was the African spirituals, as we know, like voodoo and stuff like that, Ifa, all those things. They weren't practicing comedic. They weren't wearing ankhs and stuff like that. They weren't doing none of that stuff. So, like I said, in this book right here, and you can even find it page 80. The chapter is Black Egypt turning brown and white. Ethiopia's oldest daughter, Egypt. Think about that. Ethiopia's oldest daughter, Egypt. Now, interestingly enough, like I said, I'm not saying it's wrong to study the culture, but we're not Egyptians. Plain and simple. We're not. That's not who we are. That's not who black people are. So, then when you get into things like this right here, and you look at a lot of these images, for instance, this sitting scribe right there, 2500 BC. Now I know a lot of y'all gonna look at that and say that look like a Native American, but that's not what it is. It actually has on like a headdress. And if you look at them real close, that's an Arab. You can look at other images as well. This is where also the pointy nose sculptures come from, around Roman influence, 1460 BC, right there, Thutmose III. Then you got stuff like this, supposed to be Nefertiti. That was Roman influence. Look at that pointy nose. Look at it. You look at a lot of ancient Egyptian artifacts, they have pointy noses. And the only reason that a lot of them were brown is because of exposure to the sun. Just like Native Americans, when you see old photos of Native Americans and stuff, not only was the camera quality poor, but they were dark because of exposure to the sun. Shit, white people get dark from exposure to the sun. Anybody will. Shit, my ass be out there long enough, I'm gonna get darker than I am. But as soon as I'm not out in that sun, guess what? My ass gonna turn right back this complexion. So, once again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with studying Nile Valley culture, civilization, or spirituality. There's nothing wrong with that. But to say that we was here, we was everything, we built the pyramids, we did that, is probably not correct. More than likely, it's not correct. Because, like I said, African Americans in the diaspora don't come from Egypt. We come from West Africa. Lawn care service out here cutting grass and stuff, so y'all just bear with me. So but yeah, we need to cut out a lot of the pseudo in the black conscious community, especially because they're leading y'all astray, just like the church has been doing for hundreds of years. I forgot the day was Wednesday, and they come every Wednesday, so as long as I ain't got to do it. But yeah, those of us in the diaspora are clinging to a lot of things that are false. Because I've never heard any West African talk about having ties to ancient Egypt. Now, I've met Africans from Sudan and Somalia and Ethiopia say these things. I hear a lot of Arabs say it because, you know, I got an Ankh tattoo with a kepra on my left arm. And every time I go into one of these little Arab stores or something, they always talk about my tat. Or if I used to wear my little aunt necklaces and stuff, they always would say, oh, you got the key of life. You know, they know what it is. Of course they do. But, I mean, I probably picked a bad time to do this video, but it's all good. I'm going to still get my point across. Study the 4th and 5th dynasties of ancient Egypt, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Do some real fact searching on that. Look it up. There was never any, and another thing I want to point out too, there was never any ancient Egyptian artifacts found in the Grand Canyon. There was a hoax, that's a lie. No ancient Egyptians ever came over here on no boats. Only boats they had were river boats. Can't cross the ocean in a river boat. That's bullshit. Look it up. When they say do research for yourself, you gotta do some real research. Doing YouTube videos, looking up stuff on YouTube, and the first thing that pops up on Google is not gonna give you the answer you're looking for. Use Google Scholar. Use that. Don't use Google, use Google Scholar. Fact check your information. I was just like a lot of y'all one time. I believed all that bullshit. I really did. Couldn't tell me it wasn't true. I even studied up on the Ashwa equation for a little while. And I respect Baba equation, I really do. But some of the things these elders been telling us is really not their fault. They just passed the information down from what they learned because they got false information. But now we're living in the information age. And it's time to put all the bullshit to a halt. I picked a bad time to do this video. It's all good. I'll do another video tomorrow. Do the research.